Offer me money. Offer me power. I don't care.
So you just don't care. You want to share what you have to say.
I'll say what I want to say, and if the consequence of that is losing money, so be it.
CNBC's David Faber interviewing Tesla CEO and ex-owner Elon Musk, if you can call that an interview. I don't know what that was. Following Tesla's annual meeting in May. Good job by David hanging in there. Now, Bloomberg is reporting the company, formerly known as Twitter, now worth less than half of what Musk paid for it. A person familiar with the matter told the news outlet last week, stock awarded to employees values the company at $19 billion. You'll remember Musk paid $44 billion for Twitter. Join us now, best-selling author Ben Mesrick. His new book is titled Breaking Twitter, Elon Musk and the Most Controversial Corporate Takeover in History. Ben, you've done it again. This is, again, as only you can do, you make this into a thriller.
Yeah.
Elon Musk buying Twitter. Let me just start with the first question now with some hindsight. Does he regret not only paying too much for Twitter, but buying it at all?
I mean, I believe that he does regret it, although I don't think he would outwardly say that. The concept of my book, and you're right, it's a cinematic telling of his takeover, is that Elon Musk didn't break Twitter, Twitter broke Elon Musk. That a series of events caused him to spiral down as Twitter spiraled down, and he got to such a low point that this wasn't reported yet, was that he ended up locked up. He locked himself down in a conference room, and the people at Twitter were so fearful that they were considering calling in a wellness check on him with the San Francisco police, because this destroyed his reputation. It destroyed him for half the country. We all used to think he was the Edison of our times. Huge Elon fan, and went into this as an Elon fan. I still believe he is the guy who is going to get us to Mars. He's the guy who's going to give us self-driving cars. I love that Elon, but Twitter destroyed his reputation for half the country and has sent him spiraling into a place where it's just completely about outrage. It's completely about anger. And it's a total mess.
So why did he do it, Ben? Because everything you said is true. He can be the guy who gave us electric cars, or at least made them more widespread and affordable, the guy who may get us to Mars, all of those things. So why dabble down in this cesspool?
Yeah, I really think he went in with noble views. He believes that we're in this moment in time where we can get to space, where we can save our civilization. But Twitter, he saw as becoming an over-moderated, a move towards the dark ages. He wanted to save us from the woke mind virus, as he called it, and he felt like he needed to come in, that he is the main character in the video game that is all of our lives, and he was going to save us by fixing Twitter. But what happened is he found out very quickly that free speech is more complicated than building a rocket, and that he came in to engineer away the problem, and it was people. The problem is people. The problem is not something you can just play with on your computer, and it became a disaster very quickly.
But for the Thomas Edison of our time, it's just such small ball. What, 8%, 10% of American adults are even on Twitter?
Right.
Did he really think he was going to change the national discourse? And by the way, by jumping into that discourse, he's espoused horrendous conspiracy theories and racism and all those other kinds of things.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just I can't figure out for the life of me why he wanted to be a part of that.
Well, on the one hand, you could look at it like this is a billionaire buying a luxury yacht or whatever. But really, he believed that we need a global town hall where truth is prominent. He wanted to make it the most true place on the internet. The reality is it's turned into the least true place on the internet. And that's because of the series of events that happen. And it's all in the book, but crazy things that led to, the blue check falling apart was one thing. He goes on Chappelle and he gets booed widely. He starts to realize that people don't like him anymore, and he starts to lash out. It gets worse and worse. His paranoia takes over, and it becomes really, really a bizarre sort of drift down to now it's an engagement and an outrage engine, pay for play, becoming a subscription dating site. I mean, he's got all these things going on. It's no longer this global town hall.
So it's really interesting to me, because it seems like to me that the man really does have mental health issues. I mean, it really does. And that's not anything that I would celebrate. I mean, mental health problems are everywhere in this country, and we don't do a very good job of addressing them or treating them. On the other hand, this really seems like a guy that was totally out of touch with reality. Now, I had the opportunity to visit with him one-on-one once when I was on the Armed Services Committee, and we were trying to move away from our reliance on Russian rockets.
Yeah.
And so I visited SpaceX out in California and sat down with him. And you know what I took from it? This is a really awkward guy. This is a guy who isn't a good conversationalist.
Yeah.
I felt no ability of him to relate.
Right. Well, I mean, there's a mix of things. Yeah. With Elon, it's interesting because on the one hand, he can be incredibly charismatic because he can be this imposing figure who is changing the world on the backs of this brilliant entrepreneurial spirit. In terms of mental illness, I mean, many of my idols are people that you would say were eccentric.
Exactly.
And that often drives people to break with authority. They're not held down by authority because they don't see it. Elon truly believes that the world is a simulation. And not only is he the main player in this simulation, but everyone else is a non-playing character. And that allows him to ignore voices that are dissent. People come up to him and say something he doesn't agree with. Well, that's like a pixelated character on Fortnite walking up to you and saying something.
I get it.
You wouldn't listen to that person. On the other hand, he truly is a force for good when he aims himself towards the good. The problem is he's surrounded often by people who are too afraid to tell him what's right and what's wrong. When you work with Elon, and this is in the book, they give you a playbook on how to talk to him because you can't just talk to him like you were talking to a normal boss. Yeah.
Nika?
Wow. I'd like to, then how does that filter down to the mission-driven team that Musk has surrounded himself with? And I'm thinking specifically about Linda Yaccarino. Like, how are they all on the same page, and how do they do their job?
Yeah, so Linda, in my opinion, and this is what I talk about in the book, so he did a 1-2 punch to attempt to resurrect his reputation, which is he's doing the Walter Isaacson biography, the famed biographer of our time, telling his story, and he brought in Linda to be the adult in the room. She's essentially supposed to be the Sheryl Sandberg who made Mark Zuckerberg look like a real boy. But the reality is that Linda is window dressing, in my opinion. She's not able to do anything because Elon on the sideline keeps doing what Elon does. So she's supposed to bring back the advertisers, but then there's Elon doing things like the Paul Pelosi tweet and retweeting, I'm going to sue the ADL and this and that. That makes Linda, it ties her arms enormously, bringing back advertisers. And the reality is I don't think she's there for long. I mean, I've made a prediction she's not going to last to the end of the year. Maybe she'll last a little longer than that, but I think she took an opportunity. She's wonderful at what she does. She's incredible with advertisers, but she's working in a system where Elon runs the show.
So you started by saying that it's not that Elon broke Twitter, it's that Twitter broke Elon. What does that actually look like? I mean, is that because he's devastated by what's happened? I mean, Tesla seems to be going pretty well. Maybe he likes the chaos that's on Twitter. I don't know. If he wanted to end it's a pretty horrible, angry place to hang out in, and maybe that suits him just fine. What do you mean by it broke him? Yeah,
so he does love drama and stuff like that. But my theory and what I believe is that the Elon before Twitter is not the Elon we see today. Elon before Twitter was widely beloved. Most people saw him as the genius of our times. Now, fully half the country think that he is ruining Twitter and also essentially ruining discourse and ruining truth. He's no longer the person that Walter Isaacson would have written a biography about. He's changed, and it's because of what happened at Twitter. He went in thinking this was going to be simple. People will love me. I'm going to do this. And then halfway into it, people were hating him. Things were falling apart. The whole system where truth was rising to the top became people paying $8 to have whatever crap they spewed rise to the top. And he responded by lashing out because the media lashed out. The perfect scene to look at is at SpaceX. He launches this beautiful rocket, right? And it blows up. Now, normally, this is actually not a bad thing. Everyone should be excited because he's on our way to Mars. But the reality is all of the media called it a failure because of who Elon is today. If Elon a year ago had launched a rocket that big, even though it blew up, it was supposed to blow up. It wasn't going to make it to Mars. We would have said this is our first step, and there would have been ticker tape parades. But right now, we see this thing blow up, and we say Elon is a failure. And that's the Elon of today. It's not the guy of Da Vinci and Edison. It's the guy who took away blue checks from people and is retweeting, I'm going to sue the ADL.
Yeah.